He thought he could outrun you. He thought silence could erase the pull. But no matter how far he runs, every path leads him back to the same truth. You are the mirror he cannot escape. The walls he built are crumbling. The distractions no longer numb him. And the weight of pretending is heavier than the fear of facing you. This is the moment he never wanted to reach, the place where running ends and truth begins, not because you chase him, but because his soul demands it. From the very beginning of your connection, his soul recognized you. The masculine doesn't always admit it, not even to himself, but the truth is that the moment his energy collided with yours, something inside of him awakened that he was not ready to hold. And because he wasn't ready, he ran. Running has never been about you, not your worth, not your value, not whether you are enough. It has always been about him, about the weight of recognition that struck him like lightning, the kind of knowing that dismantles everything he thought he understood about life, love, and himself. You see, running is not cowardice in the way the mind might label it. It is survival. When a soul meets its mirror, it exposes every shadow, every wound, every lie he has been telling himself. And for the masculine, who has often been conditioned to hold everything together, to be strong, to never crack under the pressure, the idea of facing those shadows is unbearable. So he runs. He runs into silence. He runs into work. He runs into distractions that never fill him, but always keep him busy. Running is his way of delaying the inevitable confrontation with the truth that you are the one. And yet, the more he runs, the more exhausted he becomes. Think about it. What happens when someone keeps running without stopping? Their body weakens, their breath shortens, their legs give out. Spiritually, the exact same thing is happening to him. Every attempt to escape you only drains him further because you are not something outside of him. You are part of his own soul. To run from you is to run from himself. And that is a battle no one can win. Have you noticed how his silence sometimes feels louder than his words? How his distance still carries your name? That's because even while running, his energy remains entangled with yours. The separation is an illusion, and his spirit knows it. But the mind, full of fear and old programming, tells him that if he can just keep going, keep hiding, keep pretending, keep burying his truth, maybe he can live without facing it. But here's the paradox. The very act of running brings him closer to the breaking point. Every distraction loses its taste. Every mask slips. Every silence echoes back at him, reminding him of what he's trying to forget. His soul has always known that the running was temporary. Sooner or later, every path he takes will lead him back to the mirror, back to you. Ask yourself, how many times have you felt his energy resurface just when you thought he was gone for good? How often do dreams, synchronicities, or signs pull him into your awareness when you weren't even seeking them? That's not coincidence. That's his soul circling back, no matter how hard his mind tries to escape. The truth is, he has been running all along because facing you means facing the truth of who he really is. And for the masculine, nothing is more terrifying, and nothing is more liberating. Running has only ever delayed what his soul already decided long before you met in the physical. He will have to face you because facing you is facing himself. And no matter how many miles he runs, there is no outrunning destiny. For a long time, silence was his weapon. It was his shield, his excuse, his way of controlling the uncontrollable. When the pull toward you became unbearable, he thought, if I stop speaking, if I stop showing up, maybe I can stop feeling. Silence became his chosen armor, a way to prove to himself that he could resist what was already written in his soul. But silence doesn't erase a bond like this. It amplifies it. What he thought would free him has only trapped him deeper inside the truth he tries to deny. At first, he convinced himself it was working. Days of no contact turned into weeks, weeks stretched into months. He told himself the distance made him stronger. He believed he had escaped. Yet underneath that illusion, the silence was already turning into something else. A pressure building in his chest, a weight he couldn't name, a restlessness he couldn't outrun. It begins in the body, because the body always speaks before the mind admits the truth. Sleep no longer comes easily. His nights feel long, haunted by a pulse that won't calm. His chest feels tight, as if the very air is heavy with your name. He dreams vividly, and even when he wakes, he feels you. Sometimes it's like a whisper, other times like a storm, but it's always there. No distraction can numb it for long. He tries, of course. He throws himself into work. He surrounds himself with people. He scrolls endlessly, keeps himself busy, fills the room with noise so he won't hear the call. But when the night comes, when the screens are off, when the laughter fades, he's left alone with silence. And in that silence, you echo, not faintly, not softly, but like a presence that fills every space. That's when silence becomes his mirror. Every attempt to bury you becomes proof that you are already woven into him. The absence doesn't feel like freedom anymore. It feels like suffocation. The loneliness he once chose now claws at him from the inside. And the truth settles in. Ignoring you doesn't bring him peace, it steals it. Maybe you've felt it too. Those sudden waves of energy in the middle of the day, those nights you can't sleep because you feel him tossing in his own. That's not imagination. That's the invisible thread pulling tighter as his silence mutates into restlessness. He is reaching for you without reaching out, his energy spilling into yours because he can't contain it anymore. His body is calling, his spirit is pacing, his soul is restless, and you feel it. This is why he begins to break down. He realizes silence is no longer control, it's collapse. The longer he hides, the heavier the weight becomes. And in that heaviness, he begins to see what he couldn't before. The connection is not going away. It doesn't bend to his will. It doesn't fade with time. It doesn't disappear just because he chooses distance. The bond is alive, and the silence only proves it. Restlessness is not weakness. It is his awakening. What feels like torment is actually the first crack in his walls. His soul is pressing through, refusing to let the illusion stand any longer. Silence was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to break him open. And now it is. So if you've wondered why you feel him moving in your energy even without a message, understand. He's no longer at peace in the silence he once clung to. That silence has betrayed him. It has turned into restlessness, into longing, into a force that pushes him closer to facing you. The truth is, silence was never escape. It was only delay. And now, every restless night, every unshakable thought, every ache in his chest is proof that the delay is ending. His soul will not let him hide forever. The silence that once felt safe is now the very thing driving him back to you. For so long, he thought he had options. Whenever the intensity of this connection became too much, he convinced himself he could simply disappear into another life. Work was his first escape. If he could bury himself in endless hours, constant meetings, and chasing numbers that never really meant anything, maybe the ache would go quiet. Maybe the silence between you would fade if he kept himself too busy to feel it. But now, the very work that once numbed him feels heavier than ever. What used to be distraction now feels like suffocation. Then came relationships of substitution, superficial connections, people who were never really you, but who helped him pretend he wasn't alone. For a while, it almost worked. The temporary warmth, the fleeting intimacy, it gave him the illusion that he had moved on. But the truth always bled through. In quiet moments, in the stillness after the noise, he felt the emptiness swallow him. No one filled the space you occupy, no one ever could. He tried the other escapes too, numbing habits, addictions that promised release but left him drained, nights out that masked the loneliness for a few hours, only to make it louder the next morning. He ran, again and again, believing that if he kept moving, the pull toward you would eventually weaken. But here is where he finds himself now. None of it works anymore. The very things that once distracted him have turned against him. The work feels meaningless. The substitutes feel hollow. The escapes leave him exhausted instead of relieved. He is beginning to see that no matter how far he runs, the truth follows him. And the truth is you. Not in the sense of a fantasy or obsession, but as the soul mirror he can't outrun. This is why he feels restless now, even in places that once brought him comfort. It's why his heart pounds when he's alone. It's why memories of you surface in the most unexpected moments, even when he tries to push them away. Because the journey was never about how far he could run. It was always about when he would realize that running was never an option, and that moment is here. At first, he thought avoiding you was the safest path. If he stayed away, if he kept running, then maybe he could control the chaos this connection brought into his life. He believed distance would protect him from the intensity, from the vulnerability, from the mirror you hold up to his soul. But the further he went, the more he discovered something he never expected. The cost of staying away is far heavier than the risk of facing you. In the beginning, fear was his guide. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being seen too deeply. Fear of letting you down. You were never just another person to him. You were always the one who saw through his masks, the one who touched the parts of him he had tried to bury. And that terrified him. It was easier to hide behind pride, behind silence, behind excuses than to stand naked in front of your gaze and admit how much you mattered. But now something has shifted. The fear of losing you, of truly losing the only connection that ever felt real, has begun to eclipse all the other fears. He lies awake at night, not because he doesn't care, but because the thought of you slipping away is unbearable. He wonders if you've moved on, if your heart has grown tired of waiting, if you've chosen yourself in ways that mean he may no longer have a place beside you. And that thought burns deeper than any shame, deeper than any fear of rejection, because losing you is no longer about losing a person. It's about losing the only soul who reflects his own. How do you keep running from someone who lives inside you? How do you pretend indifference when your very spirit aches with the memory of her presence? This is why the silence no longer soothes him. Once it was his shield. Now it feels like a prison. Every day he doesn't face you. He feels the bars closing in tighter. Every message he doesn't send, every word left unspoken, every chance to step forward that he lets slip by. They don't protect him anymore. They haunt him. Because here's the truth. The fear of facing you is temporary. The fear of losing you is permanent. And his soul knows it. That's why his energy feels restless. Why you may sense his pull even before his words come. His spirit has already chosen you, even if his mind is still catching up. He is learning that running is not strength. Running is surrender to fear. And the more he tries to cling to that fear, the more he realizes it only magnifies the very thing he thought he could avoid, the emptiness without you. So the balance inside him begins to shift. The fear of being seen, of being vulnerable, of being unworthy. It still exists, but it no longer has the final word. Because louder than that fear is the truth echoing inside him. He cannot afford to lose you. Not now, not after everything. This is the breaking point where his soul leans forward, where his desire for truth becomes greater than his desire for control, where he understands that facing you, raw, imperfect, vulnerable, is the only path that doesn't destroy him. And the longer he resists, the clearer it becomes. The fear of facing you may shake him, but the fear of losing you will shatter in him. So he stands at the edge of himself now, trembling between both fears, realizing that only one choice leads him back to life. How his spirit reaches before his words do, long before his lips form the words. His spirit has already spoken. That's the paradox of this journey. Even in silence, even in separation, energy never lies. You've felt it, haven't you? That invisible thread pulling at you in moments when logic says there's no reason. That sudden wave of warmth, of longing, of intensity that arrives without warning. That's him, reaching even when his ego tells him to stay away. For so long, he believed distance could protect him, that if he stayed quiet, if he avoided you, the bond would weaken. But the opposite happened. Silence only amplified the connection, because what exists between you isn't bound by time or space, and certainly not by his attempts to deny it. Energy moves faster than words, deeper than actions. His soul has been speaking to yours since the first moment it recognized you, and now, as he stands at the breaking point of his old patterns, his spirit begins to reach more strongly than ever. You may notice it in your dreams, vivid, charged as if he's there beside you, whispering what he cannot yet admit out loud. You may feel it in your body, a sudden heaviness in your chest, a spark of electricity in your skin, the ache of his longing brushing against your own. You may even sense it in the synchronicities that appear all around you, numbers, songs, symbols that remind you that he's thinking of you even when he's silent, because his spirit doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't wait until his pride is gone or until his words are perfectly arranged. Spirit speaks in raw truth. Spirit reaches even when he resists. And this is the stage of the journey where you begin to see clearly that words are not the only form of communication. His energy tells you everything you need to know. But what does it mean when his spirit reaches before his words do? It means he's softening. It means the walls he built are cracking. It means the ache of distance has grown heavier than the fear of closeness. He may not be ready to admit it out loud yet, but his soul is already surrendering to the truth. He cannot escape you because you are not outside of him. You are within him. And maybe that's why you felt his presence so strongly lately, why his energy lingers in your space, why you sense him pulling at you when you least expect it. He's practicing union in the only way he knows how, energetically, before he finds the courage to make it physical. He reaches for you in spirit because it feels safer than reaching with words. But make no mistake, that reaching is real. It's his way of holding on, of making sure you still feel him, of reminding himself that he hasn't lost you completely. Have you ever noticed how he shows up in your heart in moments when you're on the verge of letting go? That's not coincidence. That's his spirit calling out, tugging on the bond so you don't forget him. Not because he wants to control you, but because the thought of you slipping away terrifies him more than facing you ever could. His spirit knows what his mind denies. You are his home. And so, even in his silence, he leans toward you. Even in his fear, he sends waves of love. Even in his absence, he is present. And here's the beauty of it. This reaching isn't about manipulation or empty gestures. It's his soul aligning before his actions do. It's the invisible rehearsal before the physical steps. It's proof that transformation begins in the unseen, long before it manifests in the seen. So when you feel him, when his energy brushes against yours, when his presence lingers in your spirit, know this: He is not gone. He is not indifferent. He is preparing, and his spirit will always move first, because the soul cannot be silenced the way the mouth can. He is already reaching, not with words, not yet, but with something far stronger, the language of the soul. And that language always speaks truth. There comes a point in every twin flame journey when running, hiding, and pretending no longer serve him. He can distract himself. He can bury his emotions. He can deny the intensity for months or even years. But eventually, he collides with the one thing he's been avoiding all along, himself. And that collision happens through you. You are the mirror he cannot escape, the reflection he didn't ask for but desperately needs. You carry the energy of everything he's tried to ignore within himself. The longing for truth, the hunger for love, the vulnerability he's been trained to suppress. When he looks at you, it isn't just your eyes he sees. It's his own soul staring back at him. And that's terrifying, because no one else has ever done that. No one else has ever stripped away his defenses without even trying. At first, this is why he runs. Because facing you means facing the brokenness he thought he buried. It means acknowledging the fears, the wounds, the shame he's carried for so long. It means admitting that beneath all his strength, there are places he's still fragile, and he hates that. His ego resists it. His pride wants to fight it. But the truth is unrelenting. Every silence he gives you only echoes louder within himself. Every time he pulls away, the bond doesn't weaken, it intensifies. Every time he tries to deny you, the ache only grows stronger. Because your presence is not a threat to him. It's the invitation to finally stop running from the parts of himself that need healing. And here's the sacred paradox. You were never sent to fix him. You were never sent to carry his wounds for him. But you were sent as the mirror, the reminder that he cannot avoid his own reflection anymore. Through you, he begins to see what he must face within himself. He starts noticing it in small ways. The way your absence triggers his abandonment wounds. The way your strength shines light on his insecurities. The way your unconditional love feels almost unbearable because he doesn't feel worthy of it. All of it is an initiation. All of it is designed to strip away his illusions until he stands bare before the truth of who he really is. And while his ego trembles at that exposure, his soul craves it. Because his spirit knows that healing doesn't happen in avoidance. It happens in confrontation, and he cannot confront himself without first confronting what he feels for you. So this moment, the moment he finally stops running long enough to face you, is not just about you. It's about the mirror. It's about the collision with his own soul. It's about the breaking of the old self that believed he could live half awake. That's why your presence shakes him so deeply, why his emotions overwhelm him when he's near you, why no matter how hard he tries to compose himself, you bring out both his deepest fears and his highest truth. You are not just his beloved, you are the catalyst. And deep down, he knows this. He may not admit it yet. He may still fumble, still resist, still hide behind silence. But he cannot unknow what he's seen in your reflection. He cannot unfeel what awakens in him when he looks at you. Because in that moment, he doesn't just see you, he sees himself, the real self, the soul self, the version of him that has always been waiting to rise. And once he's seen that, there's no going back. This is why you were chosen for each other. Because only this bond, only this mirror, could strip away the illusions and force the truth to be seen. He doesn't just face you, he faces himself, and through that he begins to remember who he truly is. All along, you thought the running was against you. Every silence, every retreat, every attempt to push you away felt like rejection. It felt like he was choosing distance over closeness, illusion over truth, fear over love. And maybe part of you wondered if it was all in vain, if his running meant the bond wasn't real. But here's what you've always needed to know. The running was never away from you. It was always toward himself. And even when it looked like he was escaping, every step he took in the opposite direction was guiding him back to the same place, to you. Because there is no true separation on this path. The distance, the silence, the obstacles, they are part of the alchemy. The running is not failure, it's initiation. It's the process his soul demanded so he could break through the weight of his illusions. When he ran, he wasn't just avoiding you, he was avoiding the reflection you held up to him. He was avoiding the truth of his own soul. And yet, every time he tried to hide, the ache only grew stronger. Every time he tried to numb it, the bond only pressed harder on his chest. Every time he told himself it wasn't real, life mirrored back the undeniable truth. The running was never meant to destroy the connection. It was meant to purify it. It was meant to strip him down to the place where no escape remains, where the only option is surrender. And surrender doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in breaking. That's why every detour, every wall, every cycle brought him closer to the moment he could no longer deny it. Think about it. If he hadn't run, if he hadn't tested the bond in the fire of separation, would he truly know its depth? Would he truly recognize that no distraction can compare, no escape can satisfy, no substitute can replace? His running has been the very proof of the connection, because he ran everywhere else, and nowhere felt like home. So when you wonder why it had to be this way, remember, the running carved the path. It was never wasted. It was never against you. It was the storm that cleared the illusions, the weight that broke the pride, the silence that amplified the call. And now, as he edges closer to the truth, he realizes something profound. The running has always been a circle. Every path he took curved back, no matter how far, until it led straight to you. Because this bond doesn't break. It bends, it stretches, it tests, but it does not vanish. His ego thought he could run forever. His soul knew better. His soul always knew the finish line wasn't escape, but union. And that's where he stands now, at the edge of surrender, at the breaking point where running ends and truth begins. And you were never chasing. You were holding the mirror steady. You were anchoring the bond in silence. You were walking your own path, not to wait for him, but to embody the love that would one day call him back. So let this be the truth that settles in your spirit. The running was never rejection. It was recognition in disguise. And every time he tried to flee, he was proving the same thing again and again, that no matter where he goes, he is bound to return. Because he isn't just running from you, he's running toward you, toward himself, toward the love he can no longer live without. And in that sacred recognition, the running ends not in defeat, but in arrival. Arrival at the place his soul always knew was home. Arrival at the love he can no longer deny. Arrival at you.